Hello and welcome. You're here because you're a professional speaker and business isn't going as well for you as you'd like it to. You see people online in real life making unbelievable money as a speaker, and you know you've got the goods to make it happen for yourself, but it's just not working. My name's Matthew Pollard and I am the Rapid Growth Guy, and I have the solution for you. I want to tell you a little bit about my client, Jim Comer. Jim is the most amazing person, the most great-souled person I've ever met. And his focus was sharing two messages with the world. And that was one of his major issues. Firstly, he had two topics. One was caregiving, and the other one was teaching people how to be better speakers. These topics were pulling him in two separate directions. As speakers, we're generally talented at so many things and we want to share all our competencies with the world. The problem is, with the amount of time we have to market ourselves in our business, we only have time to share one core message with one core demographic. And caregiving and professional speaking, even though they're vastly different, for other people, if you've got two topics that are so close to similar, but they're still separate and they're speaking to two different market segments, you're making your job much harder than you need to. You want to start with one and grow from there. Jim also had another problem. He hated talking about money. He'd grown up in a very Christian family where you don't talk about money. It was uncomfortable to say if you were earning good money, and if you were earning bad money, you definitely didn't talk about it. So Jim lived this life of being a professional speaker where he's got to eventually get to the budget, but hating having to speak about it. So what he would do, because he knew that it was going to be on his mind the entire time, is he'd get a phone call from a potential client and they'd say, "Jim, we've heard you're amazing. We would like to work with you." And he would say, "Oh great, just so I know, what's your budget?" And they would say a budget that was lower than he would want. And he would then get upset with them for having that budget, and he would start having this whole conversation around budget before he'd done anything else. And I said to him, "Jim, what's the difference between you as a speaker and someone else when they first speak to you on the phone?" He said, "Well, they referred to me, so they would obviously know how good I was." And I said, "People refer people all the time, and yes, you should be able to charge more, but they only know that you were good. And they probably had an idea of how much you cost when they made the phone call, and you didn't do anything to add additional value into that customer before you asked for the number." And he said, "Well, how should I do it? Because I don't want to waste my time talking to this person for 15 minutes before I ask them about the budget and then find out their budget isn't what I need it to be. Plus, how dare they give me such a low number? I mean, this is my livelihood, and they're giving me a number that clearly isn't enough to feed me." I said, "Jim, they don't know that. All of this is things that are inside your head because you live that life. Their job is to get the best speaker at the best budget. I mean, at the end of the day, you have speakers all over that we can get, and they're trying to decide why you're worth that additional money." I said, "Instead of doing it that way, Jim, what I would suggest you do is say, 'Great, I'm ecstatic about working with you guys. Tell me more about your event,' and ask lots and lots and lots of questions. And then tell them examples of when you've worked with other people, other events, and created unbelievable outcomes. Specific ones just like them that you can help." I mean, as speakers, we're really storytellers. And Jim was sharing no stories with the client before he asked what the budget was. Now, of course, that is going to raise their expectation of what that budget is. However, if their budget's $5,000 and you want $15,000, at the end of the day, the person you're speaking to might not have the authority to be able to raise that bar. So when you get to the budget, which you should only speak about at the very end, and they give you a budget that's too low, what you need to do is take that in your stride. I mean, at the end of the day, they have a budget and you have a number that you want to work for. If they want you, this is the process of negotiation. If you want to prove that you're a professional speaker, you have to know that that's part of the game. So with Jim, I said, instead of getting upset, focus on helping them navigate getting a higher budget and understanding the downfalls of working with someone else. For instance, if you're after $15,000 and they only have 5, you can say, okay, well look, when I first started as a speaker, I used to charge around $5,000. Now, one of the things you need to know about someone with that budget, now you may have been lucky in the last few times, but when people are learning for the first time, they're willing to take $5,000, but then they may not be the best speaker. And sometimes things pop up and they may not show up, or things can go wrong, or you've got this event and people have paid tickets for this, or they're paying association fees, and what if it's not as good as you expect? Then explain and tell another story about a time where one speaker was the $5,000 speaker where that person really didn't deliver. And they were supposed to do a second segment, but you could see that people were disengaged and the organizer knew it. And how you came in and saved them. Because at $15,000 for what you normally charge, you make sure you over-deliver. You've got years of experience. I mean, at the end of the day, when it comes to hiring a speaker, you want to know the person's got the goods, and that can only come with experience. Explain that whole story and how you then help them out by taking over that additional segment and having all these additional topics that you can talk about, which means that if somebody doesn't show up, or if somebody doesn't deliver, if they need you to do something additional at a pinch, you're the event lifeguard. I mean, really, anything goes wrong, you're there and you can save the day, because that's what you pay $15,000 for, an experienced speaker. And then take them through navigating the budget. So we currently have a $5,000 budget that you have, and to work with me, obviously we're looking for more to 15. So let me ask you, what is the process that you would need to follow to look at how we can increase the budget? Potentially, do you have a book budget that you utilize to get speakers in sometimes? Are there any other ways of getting approval? How have you divided out the budget? Have you got room to put one high-level speaker in if you can get some other speakers that are lower level? Alternatively, and this is the power of indifference, most speakers are so afraid to hang up the phone. My suggestion to you is to say, now if you only have a budget of $5,000, I know how bad a $5,000 speaker can be, but I know some good up-and-coming ones. Obviously, they haven't got my level of experience, but I'd be more than happy to give you some recommendations. Because at the end of the day, if you're not willing to work for $5,000, you've just created a raving fan, somebody that's going to share. You've got to have Jim Comer. I wish I could have afforded him. For our national conference, I'm definitely going to hire him. At this time, I just didn't have the budget. It was for a small state thing or for a small regional thing, and we just couldn't afford him. But I'm definitely hiring him next time. Alternatively, they're like, wow, that Jim guy's so impressive. He must be busy because he was happy to recommend somebody else. Let me see if I can talk to the boss and navigate through getting that additional money. And frequently, you'll be surprised. While all events act like they have no money, a lot of these events have a lot more money than you think they do. And so many speakers say, I'm $15,000. Oh, no, I'll do it for $5,000. So why not ask? Or I'm $15,000. Oh, but you're local, so sure, I'll do it for free. And if you don't hold a firm line, then they're going to know that they made the right choice, because clearly, if you don't know the game, you're clearly not as professional as you should be. Now, Jim also had another problem. He had huge negative self-talk. I mean, you think about it. When we stay in our office all day, we're producing content. Some people are telling us to put more articles up. Other people are telling us, focus on social media. Other people are saying, start a podcast. And inside our head, we're scratching it going, what am I going to spend my time on today? Do I pick up the phone? Do I call someone? I'm lost. And with Jim, he was an older guy. He'd been lost for a long time. He kept telling himself, I'm too old for this. People, my time has passed. I sent that email to that person and they didn't respond. Clearly they're not interested in me. Event organizers get emails from so many people, they probably just didn't see it, or maybe it went into the junk folder. So I said to Jim, what I want you to do is I want you to reach out to every single person you haven't spoken to in a while, or you sent a proposal to and they didn't respond. Every single person. And just double check that they got your email, or just double check that they don't have another event coming up. Make contact. His response, oh, I couldn't do that. He used to fight with himself in the shower. He'd have such negative self-talk about the fact that he wasn't good enough, that he wasn't worth that fee, that people wouldn't, he's too old, all of these things. As a speaker, our mindset is our absolute reason for earning ourselves money. If we do not have a positive mindset, then all of a sudden our business is doomed. We have to be so careful about the people around us and making sure that they are positive influences, but more so, we can absolutely control what we think. We have to continually give ourselves positive affirmations. I am good enough. I am worth that fee. I'm giving people a bargain for $15,000. $15,000 is nothing to lots of these people. This is what we need to believe, because if there's any form of disbelief in your mind, it comes across on the phone. So then I said to Jim, what I want you to do is pick up the phone. So he did. Within 6 hours of picking up the phone and telling stories to clients and sharing with them, he locked in $30,000 worth of business in 6 hours after our first session. Now, Jim happened to be in the December month when we started working together. He had nothing lined up for the later part of the year. He was terrified about what the start of the next year looked like. And then after 6 hours work, all of a sudden the problem was solved. Now the problem was solved for now, but Jim still had other issues. The major one being, he didn't know how to share his message with the world about who he was. I mean, speakers, we're wonderful speakers, and we can talk for 30 minutes about a topic. But if you ask us to speak concisely about what we do, we want to use 1,000 words. We want to educate them about our whole life history. They do not care. We have to be very, very specific. And with Jim, he would lead with, well, I'm actually a professional speaker on 2 topics. I speak about the caregiving industry. I'm a professional speaking coach. I like to work with people. And it went on and on and on, and nobody cares. I'm a business coach. I'm a marketing strategist. I'm a branding expert. I'm a social media strategist. I'm a master in neuro-linguistic programming, and nobody cares. I'm the rapid growth guy. I help organizations, large and small, obtain rapid growth. The simplicity of a message gets you heard in a crowded market, and Jim did not have one. He didn't know what it was, so we discovered it for him. He had 2 focuses: aged care and teaching people how to be better public speakers. And I asked him which one of these did he want to do. I made him make a choice. And for him, he thought that he could make more money out of being a speaking coach. So he always shied away from the caregiving industry. And with Jim, it's what he wanted to do. It's what he loved. So tapping in and letting him make the choice that that's what he wanted, even if it paid less, he ended up making more. We then created something else, which we called transition coaching, which is where he coached individuals that had elderly parents and coached them through the fact that they need to broach the conversation about moving people into nursing homes. It never occurred to him, because what happens is in our brain, we currently experience 2 million bits of information every single second, 2 million, through our smell, our touch, our hearing, our sight, our taste. And our brain has the ability to process 126 bits per second. The supercomputer it is, that's all it can take in. So what it does is it deletes, distorts, and generalizes everything that we see on the basis of our values, our beliefs, and our past experiences. So if we have our vision structured where we're interested in caregiving and we're interested in professional speaking coaching, then all of a sudden the 126 is divided by 2. It's 63 over here and 63 over here. As soon as we create this laser focus, we see opportunities that were right there in front of us the whole time. So many times as speakers, we go to where the money's at because it seems easier, but it's actually harder, because if we're not passionate about it, we find it hard every day to get out of bed and push our message. With Jim, he didn't have that problem. He just got out of bed and went out and marketed himself and wrote about it and spoke about it. And all of a sudden, deals started to come to him. All of a sudden, an elderly guy who struggled to find energy to really implement things into his business, he was finding the twilight hours a wonderful time to do additional stuff. He had all this additional energy because he tapped into his core passion, and all of a sudden he could see opportunities everywhere. For Jim, it absolutely transformed his business by making a choice and then coming up with a message that fits with that. I also want to invite you to a webinar where I am going to share the secrets I have not shared with anyone outside my one-on-one clients. The secrets that I used myself to create a 6-figure consulting business within a period of less than 6 months. The secrets that I use to become an internationally paid speaker, not free speaker, paid speaker, within just 10 months of launching my website. These secrets I've not told anybody, and I'm planning on sharing them all in a webinar completely for free so that you can start to obtain rapid growth within your business. These are the keys you need to finally make change. I know there are so many programs out there that tell you can make money by sharing your content on the internet and speaking everywhere on stage, and they're all completely focused on one element. The way I'm going to teach you focuses on a holistic approach of completely sharing your message with the world, the way you want to say it, completely congruent with who you are as a person. You don't have to be someone you're not, and you don't have to do things that aren't congruent with who you are. Let me show you how. Just click on the link below and you're gonna hear a wonderful story by Jim Comer. And then I look forward to seeing you on the webinar. Cheers.